The Joe Rogan Experience.
They don't really get their news. They read the headline and then they act like they're getting their fucking news. They're not putting in the time. They're not reading the books. They're not actually going and reading a real newspaper or reading,
That shit
legitimate.
fucking pisses. What pisses me off about politics, I feel like it's the only thing where, like, if Lewis doesn't watch basketball at all, and Jay watches every single Sixers game,
I do.
and then there's like
I do.
a thing coming up where like something about a basketball game, Lewis won't just like start arguing with you like, no, they need to play this defense, they need to go into a zone, because you're like, yeah, I don't really know about that. But for some reason with politics, no matter how much anybody's not read anything, they don't know anything, they have no problem just having a hardcore, strong opinion. Like,
It's because also you know about it. Right, so when someone's like super argumentative about it, like, oh, you're not even well informed.
Yeah,
which is most of the case with people that are really super aggressive about it.
It seems like, I mean, dude, when they had this thing where they were interviewing people at the fucking March for Life, I think they called it, the gun control march. I feel how it feel
just now.
Well, no, they were like all over. It was in a bunch of different cities. It happened on the same day. We saw it, but it happened in a bunch of different cities. I think the big ones were in like D.C. and I think there was one out here, and but there was this guy just interviewing people, and he'd go around and ask them if they are for an assault weapons ban, and they'd be like yes, and then he'd go, "What's an assault weapon?"
Right.
And it's amazing how many people just didn't know. Now, I'm not even, whatever your take on an assault weapon ban is, it's like, how could you be for banning something that you can't even define? That just seems banana.
Right, but they know. But hold on a second. Yeah, exactly. Like they know that this is what it does. They know it's a rifle that shoots people. It's like a semi-automatic. It's not a hunting gun. It's a rifle that's designed to shoot people, like in a military situation.
Sure.
That's what it looks like. So they're wrong. I mean, like they don't know what an AR-15 versus an AR or whatever versus like what's legal, what's semi-automatic. They don't know all the details, but they do know that these are guns that you kill people with.
Okay, sure, fair enough. But I feel like there's like a thing where they'll be like, well, I'm for a ban on semi-automatic weapons. And they'll be like, so you want to ban handguns too? And they're like, no, we don't want to ban handguns.
Right.
And you're like, but
that's
lots of handguns are semi-automatic weapons. It's just like, if you're going to protest, read a book on it. It's not just having a passive opinion. You're like out marching.
No, I think they want to, they want to move the ball down the field though, and the more people that come out, they have kids literally, kids that are in the 5th grade walking out of their classrooms. They don't fucking know what they're talking about or what they're doing there.
Yeah.
Hey man, sometimes there's a girl with armpit hair you want to fuck. You know what I mean?
Well, how many of these
Gotta throw in
people?
a couple of opinions you don't mean.
Yeah, that's true. Or dirty, hairy feet. Those girls with the hairy toes. But how many of these kids, this is a big one, how many of these kids are against putting kids on psychotropic drugs?
Yeah.
Putting kids on unnecessary psychiatric medications. Parents dope their kids up all the time because they don't want to deal with some hyperactive kid. Some kid who's got some fucking power, some energy. He wants to bounce off the walls.
We were in Brea the other day, right before the show we did, and there was a kid, the kid must have had autism or something, or some extreme case of it, but he was like, he was having some sort of violent episode, I'm assuming, but it was just a dad, like calm as day, just sitting on a corner with his kid, with the kid face down, as the kid's like screaming and shaking and kicking his arms and legs, and then I was just holding the kid down, and it was so hard to, like, I almost wanted to say something, like I didn't know, they don't ever really like tell you what to do, like what's going on in that situation, and I kind of watched it for a minute because it looked like he was abusing the kid for a second, but then you kind of realize after, like, oh, this kid was gonna like hurt himself or whatever it was, but that's like a really, really hard thing.
Yeah, I can accept more in the real extreme cases where kids are like severe problems, but it seems like they're just happy to, like, anyone's like hyperactive, just this kind of loose thing. Give them Adderall.
It's not a 1 or a 0, right? It's like there's varying stages of issues that kids are going to have, and some kids are going to need some kind of medication, but they're definitely overprescribing. Definitely. I knew my neighbor had a kid. There was nothing wrong with him. It's just a fucking kid, and they put him on Ritalin. Yeah,
you take Adderall as an adult. Adderall's a drug, man.
Yeah,
like that's
Ritalin.
Yeah, it's not a joke.
I give it to my 5-year-old. We snort it together.
It's just if people don't get enough attention or they don't have an outlet and they don't know what to do with themselves, they get wacky. It doesn't mean you need to give them drugs.
Yeah.
Some of these people have legitimate issues and they probably do need medication. And some of these people just need to find something that's interesting in life.
Yeah, well, I think on what you were saying before about, like, why don't these kids look into that stuff, I think a lot of times it's just like people want the simple thing. And you got to actually, this is a really difficult question to get into this stuff. Whereas if you're just like, oh, I'm against guns, that's easy. I think it's the same thing as when people are just offended it's like you don't really have to like read a lot. You don't have to
Oh,
know
yeah.
a lot. It's just easy to be right, and you've got the answer.
Yeah, it's
I'm
laziness.
offended.
People can just pick a side very easily and go, cool, everyone's already defined what's on that side. So, yeah, I'm on that side. Look, I did my work, right?